and welcome to the Citadel Graduate College's virtual webinar series. My name is Fred Quick, and I work here at the Citadel in the Graduate College. Now, the Citadel Graduate College has been operating here on the campus of the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina for over 50 years. The Citadel Military College of South Carolina is something you may be familiar with, but we also offer graduate and evening and undergraduate programs. In this, we want to accommodate the working professionals. This webinar series is actually designed to provide students with a clear insight into our academic programs directly from key campus leaders, such as our provosts, our school deans, as well as professors, support staff, and even our students. What we want to do is make sure that you know that you can see yourself here. And here at the Citadel, we produce principled leaders under the core values of honor, duty, and respect. So stay tuned throughout this series to be able to see yourself here on the journey. Now, today we are fortunate to be joined by Dr. Licia Hendricks. She is over our Department of English and Fine Arts and Communications. And so without any further ado, I'm going to give her space to be able to highlight and spotlight her program. Dr. Hendricks.
Thank you, Mr. Quick. Okay, so I have, in fact, it's an adapted slideshow. It was originally conceived for a special program that we were doing called the English Educators Enrichment Program, and that was to encourage enrollments. So I have taken that and kind of retooled it such that it is peculiar just to the entire program. So yeah, we're a joint program. It's the Master of Arts in English, and let's see, I think we can just go ahead to the next slide. The MA in English program is a joint graduate partnership between the Citadel and the College of Charleston. So it's our virtual information session. Welcome, I hope you enjoy it. And there's a picture of a book, which is supposed to center us into the study of literature. Literary studies, well, for me, it's a passion, but it is also, something that can enhance virtually anything that you are doing in the professional world, because communication is at the core of any profession at all. People have to communicate with one another. You might have a good idea, but if you cannot present it to others in a way that they can receive, then it really is difficult to get anything done. And literature is not just about just reading and writing, but it's about analysis, right? So when you encounter the written word or any sort of creative presentation, whether it be film, essay, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, right? The novel, the epic, any sort of tradition of communication, then it's about, trying to receive that and understand it. And in a way, it develops empathy, right? And the ability to, translate those ideas into any form whatsoever. Okay, so next slide. And again, so while that's coming, it just makes me, because when we read literature, we're communicating with people who are far away, maybe not even alive anymore, in many cases, not alive anymore. So it's, a style of communication that brings us together, across generations, across cultures. Literature is beautiful. So the history of the joint MA in English program, right? Because many of the programs offered through the Citadel Graduate College are peculiar to the Citadel. This is one of few that we have partnered with another institution here on the peninsula, the College of Charleston. It is a program that was begun, I think next slide, I might have some bullet points on this. It was established in the 1990s. So originally the Department of Education, now it's the School of Education, back in the 90s, it was the department, had a Master's of Education in English. The faculty of the English department at that time realized that that is something that is, rooted in this, very traditional way of understanding and imparting literature that really should be housed in the humanities, the School of Humanities and Social Sciences. So the English department decided at that point, yeah, that needed to be something that the English faculty did it. After communication with the College of Charleston, we realized that neither of our schools was quite large enough to sustain the size of program that we wanted, so we decided to partner. And there are so many benefits to that partnership. So the traditional Master of Arts in English is now offered through then the Department of English, now our Department of English, Fine Arts, and Communications. Okay, next slide. All right, so the program, and I'll get into more specifics of exactly what you would need to take and about how long it will be in a moment. Now, I want to talk about the initial program requirement, which is English 511, the Introduction to Graduate English Studies. Okay, and now we can go to the next slide. It's a 3-hour course. And again, I told you I adapted this presentation. So I don't know that I necessarily would have chosen, but I think that's oh gosh, I can't even remember the artist's name, but this Gangnam Style. But I mean, essentially the faculty colleague of mine who put this together wanted to show that the breadth, right, of what it is that you get into when you're talking about close reading and textual analysis, right? That in essence, everything is a text. So a video, a music performance, film, of course, we've got psycho, and then of course the traditional text and, densely annotated text, right? That you, when you really are engaged with a text, yeah, you should never leave those pages blank. You need to add, you need to engage with it. There are 3 parts to the English 511 course. One of the parts focuses very closely on close reading, textual analysis, the traditional sorts of practices that one thinks of when one thinks of literary studies, right? What do you do when you read? Is it a passive process? No, it is a very active process, right? That you are communicating with that, text in whatever form it takes, right? Whether it's visual or textual or some combination of both, right? Okay, so the next part is literary, critical, and cultural theory, right? So not only do we engage in close reading and try to determine, okay, what does this text mean to me? How do I receive that text? But we're also in conversation with scholars who have been doing this for generations, right? So not only will we read primary texts and kind of engage and work with those, but we'll also work with secondary source material, right? What have the key critics and analysts over the ages talked to us about when it comes to literature, and how have they conceptualized the process of engaging with literature, and how our brains kind of grow and develop as we engage with the written word, the spoken word, and visual text. Okay, next slide, please, because the third part is, and actually, you know what, there is a 4th part to English 511, conducting research, because it is closely allied with, the idea of critical theory and scholarly analysis. But, you'll also learn that sort of informational literacy, right? How do you determine what a good source is, and how do you locate those? How do you work within a library system to call out those materials that will best inform whatever argument it is that you're trying to make, right? So informational literacy, conducting research, very much at the heart of English 511 as well. And then that final piece is the more practical application, occupations and careers, right? How can a degree in English help you advance in whatever professional field you're engaged in? Very often I speak with graduates, both of the undergraduate English program, whether at the Citadel or anywhere else, and our graduate students. They end up everywhere. One of my daughters, her best friend, mother, doctor, her undergraduate major, English, right? And so really it is the ideal pre-professional major. And clearly she's not the only doctor who had done an English major. Lawyers, unilaterally said, if they hadn't been English majors, that they wish that is what they would have chosen, because so much of the legal profession is about preparing written arguments, right? And delivering persuasive oral arguments, right? But most of that is based upon something that you have written in advance. Like virtually anything you do can be enhanced by advanced study in English. Again, because of the skills that you acquire in textual analysis, attention to detail, and improved communication skills, right? There is something about, and I tell my undergrads this all the time when I teach them, that no matter how well crafted and organized your argument is, often if you have superficial errors, especially more than a few, it really doesn't matter how quality your argument is. People will be fixated on those errors, right? So just the idea of, polishing writing, and delivering ideas with finesse. Okay, all right, so that's 511. Okay, this seems a little egocentric, especially since I'm here, so you know exactly what I look like. But the original slide presentation also features my counterpart director over at the College of Charleston. So I figured just for symmetry and balance, right, then I create a slide for myself as well. Because we do, in this partnership, each campus has a director. I'm hoping, of course, that you would enroll through the Citadel. We're, a little smaller of a school, which means that more individualized attention. I feel more a sense of community, even though as a joint program, we definitely try to make sure that we do as many things as possible that bring the cohort and, the entire body of students who are candidates for the Master of Arts in English together. Okay, but yes, I've been at the Citadel for 23 years, and my specializations were there. This is my counterpart, Dr. Anton Vanderzee over at the College of Charleston. He earned his PhD from Stanford in 2012, and he specializes in American literature, poetry and poetics, Whitman, and the 20th century novel. You will find that at both campuses, many of our lists extend, just because the longer you stay in this profession, the more, because we're lifelong learners. We are completely devoted to, the studies in which we engage. And it just seems as if every project you do, you realize, oh, that is really also very interesting, and your specializations just proliferate. Okay, so those are the directors. English 511, and as the introductory course, is typically offered in hybrid fashion. This summer, what we're trying to do is offer it essentially exclusively online, such that if you really have difficulty in getting downtown, because both the Citadel and the College of Charleston are on the peninsula, then yeah, we can find a way for you to join remotely, and ideally we'll meet synchronously at least once a week. But if the timing just doesn't work out, we can always devise a system where we'll record course interactions. You can view it and join by a discussion. But yeah, this is all kind of in the works in terms of, let's just see how it is that we can tweak the delivery of the course and the format in order to best serve our constituency, our body of students who might be coming from all over the state. Soon, 511 will be offered in the first summer session here at the Citadel, which begins on May 8th and runs through June 23rd. So how I have conceptualized it at this moment is that we're going to have a synchronous meeting once a week, Thursdays from 10 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. But what I'm thinking is once, I get that enrollment at our first meeting, we'll determine, a day and time that works best for everyone, right? And that is certainly fluid. Okay, but otherwise, assignments will be self-paced, and you'll just submit them sort of, on the timeline that we determine works best for everyone. Just as long as all the assignments get completed by June 23rd, I really don't see any need to micromanage. But what I am hoping is that everyone will be able to travel to the Citadel to meet on campus for the final symposium, which will be the culminating exercise of the course. But it is devised to give you all the preparation that you need to be successful in the future course work. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so here comes the basics of our MA in English, the joint program by the numbers. Next slide, please. Okay, so what you'll be getting: 2 accomplished faculties of diverse interests. Yeah, I think our combined force is right around 40, right? Which is really beneficial for the students, right? Because each campus offers 2 to 3 courses per semester. So that increases variety of options. If you have enrolled through the Citadel, which I'm hoping that you will do, then there is a joint residence requirement, right? So at least 1/3 of your courses have to be taken at the partner institution. So the way that our numbers work out, that typically means that you would take 4 courses at the College of Charleston and all the rest of the coursework here at the Citadel. And that is how that joint arrangement works. But again, beneficial to have that massive faculty that you couldn't get at either institution alone. It takes 30 hours to complete the degree. If that sounds like a lot, a few years ago it was 36. We pared it down, right? But essentially that is, the introductory course, 511, your capstone, which would take from 3 to 6 hours. So, and again, I'm kind of scooping myself, but later on you will see that leaves for most people 21 hours that you would take in terms of electives. And there we are. So the only caveat to that in terms of imposing any sort of restriction is that you have to take at least 1 course that is pre-18th century. So anything that is Shakespeare, Milton, the ancients, anything medieval. We even have an 18th century British Lit course that, of course, would also qualify. So anything that that falls within that time period. So I don't know. I probably should have said pre-19th century because yeah, it can be anything that runs through the 1800s. So yes. 21 hours, and those are entirely up to you. So you can craft, your way through the program by choosing the things that most appeal to you. You can take up to 9 hours in individual enrollment coursework, and that those categories are on the next slide. So independent studies, if you decide, even with all of the options that are available to you, in terms of what faculty are offering in regular courses, if you feel as if you have, a particular interest in a period, in an author, in, a particular genre, then you might approach one of the faculty members and ask, can you devise, a course that focuses on this interest of mine? So you could work in partnership with a faculty member to devise an independent study. Tutorials, which essentially would work similarly to an independent study, except, maybe just tweaked in terms of how often you were meeting or what that final project that came out of it would look like. You can do internships over at CFC. You could help teach, be a teaching assistant of sorts. But I mean, even then, it's not a conventional TA position in terms of having, your own course that you teach. Neither of our institutions offers that. And that's mostly because, of our focus on the undergraduate experience and wanting undergraduates to be able to work with, professors. So internships here, of course, we have an excellent writing lab here on campus. Right now, one of our students, our joint program students, who's actually enrolled through CFC, is working in the Citadel's writing lab, working on an internship with the director of the writing lab, because she has discovered, an interest since she's been in our program in working in that sort of administrative capacity. So, that absolutely is an option. There are so many professions in higher education that aren't teaching based. We have a student now who finished the program last year who is working in the Krause Center for Leadership. This kind of worked in reverse, but one of our students who is currently working on his capstone project with me is the Director of Communications in the Office of Communications and Marketing here at the Citadel. So we have people in places and they are doing things. Okay, and then the capstone project hours are also counted in that. And there are 3 possible capstone experiences. Those are required. You have to choose one. You could either do a traditional thesis, which is 6 hours of coursework, and you would choose a committee. You would select a director, and that director can be at either institution because, again, this blended faculty is at your disposal. So you could write a thesis, which typically is between 50 and 100 pages. Many people opt to do that over the course of an entire academic year, but you could also do it in a single semester or over the summer, or a summer attached to one of the traditional academic semesters. So depending upon the pace of your project, you could choose. We also have an e-portfolio option, and that would be 3 papers that are revised and thematically linked, and they would be bracketed by reflective essays, and you would find some sort of online format so that it would be a public-facing project. And the third option is this major manuscript revision, which we're thinking of as a professionalization option. So if you took like a traditional seminar paper, which might be from 15 to 17 pages, and thought, how can I make this publishable, say in an academic journal? And that would be the option that even more than the thesis, I would think, would be best suited for someone who might want to take this Master of Arts and move on to a PhD program, right? Because so many doctoral programs now are looking for people who have some demonstrated publishing, experience. Okay, and next slide, please. All right, and I think that's it for me. So if there were questions, I would be pleased to answer them. And I'm trying to anticipate some of the most prevalent questions, but yeah, so many questions are based upon the practical experience of being here on campus. So I invite you, if you're interested in the program, get in touch with me, and I can take you on a guided tour of campus and show you what we have to offer, especially since our program is going to be having a new building in the fall. New buildings are so much fun. And so we would have, plenty of resources housed within that building that would enable you to have a wonderful experience of learning here at the Citadel. Thank you.
Dr. Hendricks, first of all, wow. And you said that if there would be any questions, I think you answered them all. The main one that I ever hear is, how do you use an English degree? And you covered it perfectly. Like, we speak in English. And like you said, the critical thinking needed to be able to write, to be able to analyze, and to be able to carry that into your profession. Amazing. So Dr. Hendricks, thank you so much. But what I want to do, because you talk to them about actually what happens once they're here, and I want to actually help them get through these steps of actually getting to the Citadel. And with you all, we are able to have a joint program, but like you said, we want you to come through the Citadel. Being at a school where we are smaller, we're able to actually provide a lot more of a close-knit step with you along the way. So what I want to do is actually talk to you about our application process. We want this to be a quick and easy application for you. So when you go to our website, you can go to citadel.edu. In the top right-hand corner, there's going to be a button that says Apply Online. You can click that Apply Now button and actually go to create your account. For you all, this is very important that you select graduate program. You'll create your graduate account. Now you'll actually go in to start your application. Our application, it only asks for your biographical information, it asks where you went to school, things of those sort. And you'll actually say that you're applying to the MA in English program. It is going to be clearly labeled in the drop-down box. You'll submit your supplemental items, and I'll get into detail with those a few steps from here. But in this, you're able to see each step of our process. So we want you to be able to actually start your application, finish the application, submit your supplemental items, and see when and where those were sent and how they were received. So you can actually track it and follow along. So you can check your application status through your application portal. We have admissions and enrollment coordinators here who are here to help you along the way. But just to help you with the idea, if you were to apply today, it would take about 1 to 2 business days to be able to process your submitted application. You'll receive correspondence with via email telling you what items are missing. When all of your received materials are in, we'll actually send your application off for review. Dr. Hendricks will play a big role in actually reviewing your application process to say, hey, this is the person that we want to be a part of our program. A decision typically comes within 5 to 10 business days, and your admissions decision will be sent via email. So we don't want to hold you up in any way, shape, or form. So we're not going to wait on mail, whether that's through rain, sleet, hail, or snow. We're going to just hit send, and it's going to be right there in your inbox for you. Now, here at the Citadel, for you to apply to our MA in English, we'll need you, one, to complete your application. We'll need you to submit official transcripts from the schools that you've attended. So if you received a degree from that school, we want you to send those transcripts over, or if you transferred, we want you to send those transcripts over. They need to be official. So you go to that school's website, you request your transcripts be sent, and they'll send them directly to our institution and we'll process them. That's why we say it takes about 1 to 2 business days, because we're communicating from one institution to the next. We're gonna need 2 letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation are important because they vouch for who you are. It's from the perspective of someone who either works with you, you've worked for, or who has seen you as a student in the classroom. This could be your mentor as well, but you want someone who actually knows you. This part is important. There are some people who can find a template online of how to send a letter of recommendation. And Dr. Hendricks may be able to speak to the difference of a copy-paste letter of recommendation versus one where you can tell that they played a part in your journey. So if you trust the people that are sending them, they're going to send it on your behalf. We also want you to submit a resume and a letter of intent. This just gives us an idea of who you are and what you're hoping to accomplish through us, because we want to help you along the way, and we want to make sure that we're the perfect vehicle for you. And then we'll need a copy of your official ID. If you're a resident of the state of South Carolina, your South Carolina driver's license will be sufficient, but we'll need an official ID just to be able to verify residency and things of that sort. Now, there are some important deadlines listed on the screen, and we hope those remain consistent. But with that said, after you submit that, we want to say, and actually even before you submit that, for joining today, we want to thank you. We want to give you the application code. So I mentioned the application earlier. I said it's a really quick and easy process. It's about 5 pages of information, but on that last page, there's going to be a question that says, hey, do you have an application fee waiver code? You're going to say yes, because you watched this video, and you're going to enter the code GODOGS, and that will waive the $40 application fee, covering that $40 fee, so you don't have to pay to apply to the Citadel Graduate College today. So with that said, we do have a few more sessions coming up in the future, and we hope that you stay tuned. But more than anything, we have great resources here. Dr. Hendricks is right here with you. So as she said, if you're interested in learning more about the Citadel, you can come to campus and she'll walk you around herself. But in the meantime, we have enrollment coordinators within our CGC staff who are here to help you along the way. We actually are going to be hosting our spring open house this April on the 12th. That is a Wednesday, I believe, but it's going to be April the 12th. Right here at Mark Clark Hall. And this is going to be an opportunity for you to, one, get a tour of campus, but also to be able to talk face-to-face with Dr. Hendricks. Something that she does that's unique is she actually sits down with you and talks in that moment. Because if you're interested in English, she wants to get into the details of how this could be the perfect place for you. But thank you all for joining. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you have a great day. So long.
Thank you.